If it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. Israel retrieves the bodies of 3 slain hostages that were taken by Hamas on October 7th last year. The Israeli army says the victims were recovered from the city of Jabalia in northern Gaza. Ukraine says it's managed to halt Russia's advance toward the northeastern city of Kharkiv. This as Russian and Ukrainian troops engage in fierce street warfare in nearby villages. Armenia returns 4 border villages to Azerbaijan that were seized decades ago. This as the 2 historic rivals take more steps to normalize relations. India will hold its 6th phase of voting May 25th. All 7 seats in the nation's capital, New Delhi, go to the polls amid a severe heat wave with temperatures expected to reach 115 degrees Fahrenheit or 47 degrees Celsius. And a massive landslide in the Pacific nation of Papua New Guinea kills at least 100, with many more still missing. The country's authorities say at least 6 villages have been buried under mud. We begin with escalating tensions in East Asia. China is conducting a large-scale military exercise around the island of Taiwan. And Beijing says the drills are the largest in more than a year and are aimed at quote-unquote punishing Taiwan. The 2-day-long drills come after William Lai was sworn in as Taiwan's new president earlier this week. Beijing has repeatedly labeled President Lai as a dangerous separatist. Now the drills are happening all around Taiwan as Chinese ships and aircraft encircle the island in the north, the west, the south, and the east. Chinese state media says that the exercise is meant to test the ability of Chinese forces to seize and occupy key areas. Beijing says the drills are aimed at strengthening and safeguarding China's sovereignty.
The joint exercises and training carried out by the Eastern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army in the vicinity of the island of Taiwan was to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity, to vigorously punish the separatist forces for seeking independence in Taiwan.
Meanwhile, Taiwan has responded to the Chinese drills with almost a mirror-like deployment of its forces. The embattled island has shared footage taken from its fighter jets as they track Chinese warships near the area. The newly elected president toured military bases in a major morale boost for his troops.
I will stand on the front line with all the brothers and sisters from the National Army to defend the national peace together. At this moment, international society is paying lots of attention to the democratic Taiwan. And while facing the external challenges and threats, we will continue to defend the values of democracy, protecting regional peace and stability.
Meanwhile, the United States Pacific Command say they are monitoring the Chinese military activity, calling it concerning but predictable. China has now warned the United States from supporting Taiwan by sending the island weapons and fighter jets worth billions.
We urge the United States to stop condoning and supporting the forces of Taiwan independence and interfering in China's internal affairs. Any act that jeopardizes China's national sovereignty and territorial integrity will be met with a resolute and forceful response from the Chinese side.
Now, Beijing has also sanctioned 12 of the biggest American defense firms, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and General Dynamics. The communist nation says the sanctions are in response to the U.S. legitimizing Taiwan's government. Now, the U.S. does not consider Taiwan a country. However, Washington is obligated by federal law to ensure that the island's government can defend itself. And shifting focus to the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has suffered another diplomatic setback, this time from Israel's second biggest weapons supplier. Germany says it will not defy the International Criminal Court's arrest order against Prime Minister Netanyahu and his defense minister Yoav Gallant. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's office says that they will abide by international law. The statement has drawn a sharp response from Israel, calling it outrageous, while reasserting that Israel has the right to defend itself. Now, Germany has been a strong ally of Israel for years and has provided Israel with weapons worth billions over the last 2 decades. However, Berlin's move to accept the World Court's order to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu has sent shockwaves both at home and abroad. Israel's biggest ally, the United States, has condemned the World Court's ruling. In fact, just yesterday, President Biden said that Washington will not accept the International Criminal Court's orders.
Made our position clear on the ICC. We don't recognize the jurisdiction of ICC the way it's being exercised, and it's that simple. We don't think there's an equivalence between what Israel did and what Hamas did.
Meanwhile, in a rare show of American unity, Republican leaders are backing President Biden for supporting Israel against the International Criminal Court.
We must proclaim never again, and at the same time we have to affirm that all hope is not lost, that darkness will not prevail. Today, as international bureaucrats have issued arrest warrants for Israel's leaders and likened Israel's just war to the barbarism of October 7th, Washington has been united, I'm proud to tell you, in a bipartisan manner against this madness, and we will stand together.
Now, despite the tensions between Biden and Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister is likely to visit the U.S. soon and address Congress.
Tonight, I'm happy to announce something else to you, that we will soon be hosting Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Capitol for a joint session of Congress. Yes. This will be a timely and I think a very strong show of support to the Israeli government in their time of greatest need.
Netanyahu becomes increasingly more isolated with each passing day. Nevertheless, Israel's oldest ally, the United States, remains firmly committed in its support. But as more and more nations denounce Netanyahu, the larger question becomes, in an increasingly shifting geopolitical landscape, does U.S. support for Israel even matter? And now moving to South America, Argentina's President Javier Milei looked more like a rock star than a politician at a recent concert in Buenos Aires. He declared himself a monarch as he bellowed, "I'm the king and I'm the lion," into the microphone on stage. President Milei donned a black leather coat as he jumped around while an audience of 8,000 supporters waved at him. Now, the concert, which drew hordes of adoring right-wing fans, was President Milei's first stadium gig since his election last year. However, Argentina's opposition was less impressed, calling the jam session an attempt to distract the public from domestic woes. The South American nation is struggling with its most severe economic crisis in 2 decades. Argentina has one of the world's highest inflation rates, with surges nearing an astounding 300%. Poverty has crept up to nearly 60% under Milei's administration, and layoffs are growing. Hours before Milei belted out his hard metal music, Argentina's Statistics Bureau announced that economic activity had fallen by a whopping 8.4% in March compared to the previous year. The country has been rocked by massive protests as police officers and school teachers demand pay hikes to help them deal with the rising cost of living.
The truth is that even though I have the maximum seniority, I'm tight at the end of the month. A teacher who has just started is below the poverty line. There are salaries of more or less $280 in the country. That person does not have enough to pay for electricity and gas, not even mention talking about food or recreation, which is also a social right that workers have. We are talking about not being able to survive on a day-to-day basis.
Keep in mind that the police of the province of Misiones, the penitentiary service, and family members with their representatives from the dialogue table with the government will always try to achieve the maximum possible salary for our people.
Now soon after assuming office in December, President Milei introduced an aggressive chainsaw campaign to fix Argentina's economy. He announced plans to dismiss 70,000 government employees to slash state spending.
The project had approximately 60 people working in 2 shifts. In the morning shift there were 30 people, and in the night shift another 30 or so, and today, with the work paralyzed, we have 6 people.
Now, President Milei's economic reforms also include halting public works, cutting subsidies, and slashing payments to provincial governments. But critics say all of this has hurt Argentines more and has done little to fix the economy.
This president has to realize what is happening. I don't know if he doesn't watch the news because he says that everything is fine, but we see many people unemployed, people on the streets, sleeping on the streets, so we are not doing well.
Now it remains to be seen if the showman president, whom Argentines call the madman, will realize the price his people are actually paying for his radical economic policies, or will he continue to sing to his own tune? And from one maverick to another, Elon Musk is making news once again, this time for predicting that artificial intelligence could leave everyone unemployed. The billionaire painted a dystopian picture of a future where robots would steal all the jobs. Musk also claimed that jobs would be optional and more like a hobby, leaving people emotionally unhappy. Our report further explains Elon Musk's scary prediction about AI.
No job, but more money in your pockets. A constant supply of cash without the need to toil through hours of shifts. Sounds like a dream come true. And that's perhaps how the future may look like. Well, at least according to Elon Musk. In an event, Musk said that artificial intelligence will take away all our jobs. The billionaire said, and I quote, "Probably none of us will have a job." But that's not necessarily a bad thing, he added. Musk described a future where jobs would be optional, more like a hobby. And other than that, AI and robots will take over the job market. If you want to do a job that's kinda like a hobby, you can do a job. But otherwise, AI and the robots will provide any goods and services that you want. But for that to work, he said there will be a need for universal high income, contrary to a universal basic income. This means that for a future to exist, people need to be ultra-rich and let the robots do their job. However, Musk stopped short of explaining how such a scenario could be achieved. Now, as exciting as it may sound, he did not exactly paint a rosy picture. Musk instead laid down a dystopian account of what a future without work would look like. He questioned whether a job-free future would make people feel emotionally fulfilled. Posing a rather existential question, Musk asked, if robots were to take over our daily chores, how would that affect our identity? And whether our lives would still retain their meaning? The question will really be one of meaning if the computer and robots can do everything better than you. Does your life have meaning? Musk added that perhaps the role of human beings will depend on how we shape AI. That's something he has always been vocal about. On several occasions, Musk has pointed out how AI can be potentially dangerous to human civilization. For instance, in the latest conference, the owner of X, formerly Twitter, urged parents to limit the time kids spend on social media. That's because, he said, these social media sites are programmed by a dopamine-maximizing AI. Meanwhile, he has also been vocal about how a carefully programmed AI can be beneficial for society. In March last year, more than 1,000 leaders, including Musk, wrote an open letter. They went as far as to call AI labs to pause the development of the technology, but just months later, Musk announced his own AI startup called XAI. He said the startup was created to understand reality. And ever since, he's advocated for what he calls a maximum truth-seeking AI.
So it's very important to have a maximum truth-seeking AI and a maximally curious AI. And I think that's most likely to foster human civilization because we are much more interesting than a bunch of rocks.
Now, his recent prediction adds to the already perplexing outlook of artificial intelligence. While security issues, deepfakes, and threats to the job market were already in the picture, Musk has now brought into light artificial intelligence's potential threats to our existing work culture.
And finally, rapper Sean Kingston has been arrested for failing to pay for a television. You heard that right. The musician allegedly bought an enormous 232-inch television worth $150,000 last year. He promised to make commercials for the TV seller along with singer Justin Bieber if they agreed to lower the down payment. Now the company has filed a lawsuit against Kingston accusing him of fraud and theft. The rapper's mother has been taken into custody after a raid on his residence. Here's our final report on more with the gigantic TV scandal.
Jamaican-American rapper Kishon Paul Anderson, who's famously known as Sean Kingston, has been arrested for failing to pay for a 232-inch television. Yes, you heard that right. The 34-year-old musician was arrested in California yesterday, while he was reportedly performing his song Eeny Meeny during a concert at an army base. Now his arrest came hours after his mother Janice Turner was also taken into custody. She was arrested after authorities raided Kingston's luxurious mansion in Southwest Ranches, a well-off suburb in Florida that is home to many celebrities and athletes, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and football star Tyreek Hill. The mansion is believed to be rented by Kingston. Now reports say the mother-son duo swindled a tech company out of thousands of dollars. A firm called Verver Entertainment filed a lawsuit against Kingston in February, accusing Kingston of breaching a contract. The rapper had allegedly reached out to the company over social media last September to buy a gigantic 232-inch television and sound system. The cost of the equipment was around $150,000. But Kingston allegedly told the firm that if they would agree to a lower down payment, he would collaborate with singer Justin Bieber to make promotional videos for them.
So he he tells a story. He's got basically a script. He says that he works with Justin Bieber and that he obviously puts on a big show here. This is a rental house, you gotta know. And he lures people using his celebrity into having them release things without him paying for it, and then he simply never pays.
The lawsuit claims that Kingston paid $30,000 to the company in November 2023 and the TV was installed at his residence. However, no commercials or further payments were made despite the numerous promises.
He never pays for anything. He sends bogus methods of payments. He says that he's going to pay. In my case, he said that he was sending a $40,000 wire, and he sent a picture of it to my clients, but it was fraudulent and never materialized.
Now, Verver Entertainment's lawsuit also alleges that Kingston had no ongoing work with Bieber at the time of the television purchase. The rapper had collaborated with Bieber back in 2010 to produce the hit song Eeny Meeny from his album Back to Life. Meanwhile, lawyers representing the rapper and his mother say they are aware of the allegations of fraud and theft and that they will address the allegations only in court. Following the initial raid and his mother's arrest, Kingston also took to Instagram to clear his name. He said, and I quote, "People love negative energy. I'm good and so is my mother. My lawyers are handling everything as we speak." This isn't the first time that Kingston has found himself in legal trouble. The Beautiful Girls singer is currently on a 2-year probation for trafficking stolen property. And now the singer-turned-fraudster will be back in the courtroom.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in this week. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you right back here next week. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on First Post America.